is up, my little pretties? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here, and today we are back with another episode of Shadows and Pretties. Now, this episode today, we are going to be talking about another series continuation of the Walking Dead Telltale series. So this is episode 88, and today we're going to be talking about the Walking Dead, the Telltale series. We're going to be talking about New Frontier, A New Frontier, or Season 3. It's also known as Season 3. Now, before we begin, I want to say that I really found this to be enjoyable, season. Even though I'm not that crazy on, the whole plot of this one, it's still a pretty good follow-up story to the second season. And, to be honest, I don't get why people really don't like this season. I don't understand why, because a lot of people really seem to not like this. I've seen it, on reviews and, Yahoo Answers and all that. I don't understand why a lot of people really bash this, so, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go with, the whole plot of season, well, you could definitely say season 3 of The Walking Dead, or aka, A New Frontier. Now, yet again, like the other ones, this game is based on the choices you make in the Telltale series. Like in the Telltale games, if you guys have played them, you will know that this is a game that is playing by the base of your choices. So, I'm not going to go through every single choices because that would take way too long. But we are going to talk about this. So, there's a young man in this who is another protagonist named Javier Garcia, who is a young man determined to find the family taken from him. Which, of course, to be honest, this actually is a pretty good, concept of, Javier. Javier is, a pretty good character in the game. There's, a lot of great concepts when it came to it. It's pretty well made, to be honest. I really like, certain characters. I do like, the certain voice actors. Clementine is back, I can definitely say. This follows up of what happens to Clementine, and it's another chapter of what happened to Clementine's, life, basically. So, anyways, I'm gonna warn you now that if you have not played Season 3 of The Walking Dead, I highly recommend you do not watch this, episode of Shadows and Pretties if you don't want me to spoil it. So, anyways, with that being the case, that being said, this one has 5 episodes yet again. Has Ties to Bind, that has part 1 and part 2, with Above the Law being the 3rd episode, Thicker Than Water for episode 4, and From the Gallows being episode 5. So I'm not going to go through every single choices in each episode, but I am going to talk about each episode of this individually, explain, what the plot of this is. Now, there are certain choices, and it would determine your friendship with somebody. It would determine your friendship or relationship with anybody in this game. That's how differently this game is compared to Season 1 and Season 2, plus the 400 days if you've played those. So anyways, this is another episode, this is actually, from a sequel to Season 2, or the Michonne one, which I'm not going to talk about the Michonne Walking Dead Telltale game, because 1, I don't know it that well, I've never played it, and 2, it's not really accurate or something. I don't really know. Maybe that might be just me, but anyways. The first episode of the game opens to a phone call between the brothers, David Garcia and Javier, which David is arguing to Javier to come see their family for their father's passing. Well, of course, Javi ended up abandoning his car due to encouraged traffic on the highway, is shown running to his family's house. When he has arrived, he is punched in the face by David for missing their father's death. So Javier ends up on the ground with David, trying to roughhouse or at least fight with him, when Gabriel, David's son, interrupts them, and Gabe leaves with his father and a gruffy who shoots him away. David offers a hand to Javier, and yet again, basically what happens, David's wife, Kate, hugs Javier and gives him her condolences before leading him outside where Javier's mother is. So, however, though, to be completely honest, what happened is the grandfather of, David and Javier's dad ends up becoming a zombie and ends up attacking Javier's, Uncle Hector, who asks Javier how is he alive, but as soon as attacked him and Javier and David end up having to pin, Hector down and their mother tells them off. Of course, what happens is Javier rips up one of the posts from the bed and tells his father that he is sorry before ending his own life because, well, the dad, on the other hand, was a zombie. So, of course, what happens is Miss Garcia turns out her's out of the house as she's being infected. So David ends up taking her to the hospital. So Javier, along with Kate, end up having to look after Mariana and, well, you could definitely say Gabriel Garcia, but ends up not coming back. So 4 years have passed, so Javi and Kate are seen viewing a herd of walkers, or muertos as they call it. I think that's Spanish for zombies. Not really sure, or because I don't speak Spanish, so yeah, my Spanish is not that great. So, of course, they begin, going through this junkyard, and when Javier, along with Kate, get to the junkyard, they end up realizing that they are trespassing a certain property. But, of course, with that being said, that Javier ends up getting away of the junkyard, but of course he ends up with what seemed to be, well, you definitely can guess. Javier then wakes up being inside like a vehicle with the driver asking where his family was, but the driver refuses. So Javier ends up getting freed by, well, after the tree topples over the highway and then ends up causing the truck to serve into a ditch. So when Javier gets out of there, he meets Clementine, who Clementine was, explained that she's in a camp at Prescott. So Tripp, who is their leader, ends up welcoming Javier to the whole group. And then introduce themselves to everyone else in the group. So as Javier was doing his, thing, trying to figure out how they can get out or something, basically what happens is Clementine accidentally shoots somebody, and of course she has been forced to be kicked out. So with that being this case, or with that being said, what happens is, Clementine gets taken away from, well, and AJ for that matter, is not with Clementine, which we find out later on. So sometime they end up finding what seems to be the junkyard, and they find the herd pass through it, but they manage to eliminate the remaining zombies and reunite with Kate and then Javi and, well, then Kate, Gabe, and Mariana. When they leave the junkyard, the hostile group returns and kills Mariana and almost killing Kate, which Javier is given the decision to accompany Tripp or Eleanor and Gabe to head back to Prescott to help Kate, or help Clementine do a standoff against the group to buy time for the escape. So that's basically how season 1 really ends. Now, I do apologize if some of this may not be as accurate as I normally do these. It's just I haven't played these in a really long time, so I do appreciate, you guys understanding. So basically what happens is the episode, happens with, if what happens next is when Javier and, well, Clementine go to Prescott, they end up talking to Eleanor about Kate's condition, and that Javier explores Prescott and meets some new people. However, Gabe feels that he's useless and wishes that he was more like his father, who know how to be a man, although David, on the other hand, was not with them when they left the house. So, of course, the New Frontier, which is a group of people who demanded to be let in. So they tried to, well, hold them off, but of course, Prescott is being overrun by the walkers and the New Frontier. So Javier, with his group of people, they ended up getting out of Prescott, and they decided to head for Richmond, which is a community that believes that has medical needs for Kate, as Kate is, well, slowly dying from her internal injuries. So Clementine begins to grow close to Gabe, and while the other group removes the cars blocking the road when the walkers start to attack. Of course, they met a man named Paul, aka James, or Elite Paul, or Jesus. So he takes them to Richmond, which of course Paul ends up, or Jesus ends up taking Javier's group to lead them to Richmond. Although, for what happens is when Conrad sees that, well, Kate has the mark of the New Frontier, he ends up trying to hold while Clementine engaged hostage. But of course, most of the time Javier will shoot and kill Conrad, but however, that is basically the player's choice if they choose to go with Conrad's plan, or they end up rejecting the plan. So we're gonna go with rejecting the plan, which of course Javier kills Conrad, and as the members of the group head towards Richmond, they spot Eleanor's car with Kate still inside, and Eleanor is missing, presumably taken to the New Frontier. So with Kate being in a worsening state, Javier decides to approach the new gates of the New Frontier Richmond, which in hopes they will give Kate the medical care. When Max meets him at the gates, Javier attempts to persuade them to let them in. Either way, the gates open up, but of course they realize that David is the leader of the New Frontier, aka Javier's brother. So that basically summons up Ties That Bind Part 2. Now we're going to Above the Law, which is the third episode of Season 3. And now this is where things start to get really interesting. It's about a few months after the outbreak. It's a flashback where Javier and Kate exit their house that night to retrieve a tank of fuel from one of their neighbors. Although Kate is terrified of being outside in the dark, so Javier goes out and takes care of what's going on. So as Javier attempts to console Kate as a child walker exits out of the house and attacks him, Kate is petrified when she recognizes the walker to be Drew, who is one of Gabriel's friends. So Javier struggles with it and ultimately kills the zombified Drew without Kate's aid, and Kate apologizes for unable to act, although Javier tells her that there is no apology necessary, and she embraces him in tears, suffering a panic attack. So it starts off with a flashback. So with that being the case, upon entering the family house, Kate decides that it's time to leave their home and search for a better place to live, as the neighbors have become unsafe and deplete of supplies as they're getting low. So Javier agrees that they should leave, but their discussion wakes up Gabriel and Mariana from their sleep, and Gabriel argues that they should be safe in their house as they no need to leave. But Kate insists that staying here longer would put them all in more danger than leaving. So we cut to what seemed to be them leaving, and then to them right here, the present. So Javier and Kate and while David reel from their abrupt reunion, Gabriel rushes to his father to hug him, causing the New Frontier to warily raise their weapons on Gabriel. David, of course, explained that the newcomers were his family, and if Javier surrendered to Max, David frantically goes to her side and demands to know why was she on the ground. So, of course, when Javier can blame Max or apologize, but David quickly takes his wife to go take her to the hospital, where she is then treated. Inside of Richmond's quarantine section, Tripp is reunited with Eleanor and locked up. So Eleanor explains that the New Frontier had taken her in and had ignored her questions to get them requests to get Kate from where she is, then stashed her. So Tripp informs that the Richmond has been taken over the community, that Javier's brother, among with them. However, Jesus muses that David could be more useful in getting them out of quarantine and sneaking into acceptance into the New Frontier. So, of course, if Conrad was not killed in the train tunnel, he expresses his distaste for the New Frontier, and basically he would announce that his no plans to live with the people who killed Francine, and yeah, that is kind of hard to say. So, with that being the case, with that being said, Javier goes to see Kate with David, and basically, depending on how Javier asks his friends to behave, David asks Javier's intentions to play along. So, David takes him to a courtyard and introduces to Ava, who Clementine meets while she was trying to be on her own and taking care of AJ, and David and Javier enters Kate's recovery room, where she is resting from her injuries with fresh bandages and fluids. So Gabriel is excited to see Javier, and David and his son begin playfully sparring as Javier and Kate discuss their condition. Her condition for that case. So Lingard, who is the doctor who serves as the community's medic on the council, she says that she no longer feels pain whenever they enter, making David suspicious. So David's kind of getting suspicious about his brother being around Kate. I'm sorry if I, mispronounce certain things, people. So in Richmond Cafedel, David presents his brother to Joan, the project manager of the city and handler of the outside side, and Clint, who is an article expert for the interview. So when things have been going on, however, Javier ends up finding out about more stuff that the New Frontier actually killed Mariana, which of course Javier then ends up telling, well, basically David about that. And that's when, they brought up the Prescott, issue and everything going on. So, of course, with that being said, Clementine, several months before the New Frontier, there's like a flashback where Clementine tries to get AJ. Jay had grown gravely ill with some sort of infection, leading Dr. Lingard to pronounce AJ. So, of course, Clementine basically tries to give him the medicine, and of course anyone had found out that she had stolen it and given it to AJ. But of course what happens is that when Clementine, tries to cure AJ, the New Frontier was the one who took AJ, and Clementine is determined to get AJ back but first she has to, find out exactly where AJ's kept so then she can find him and bring him back. So AJ's basically taken away and been stolen or kidnapped in this one, so that's in case if you guys are wanting to know. So, of course, Javier and the rest of the others go to this warehouse and they found out something really messed up. So, they actually found out that, well, you could say that, all the stuff came from Prescott, and they found out that you can see that the New Frontier was the one who stole from Prescott and stuff. And that's when lots of more things begin to happen. So Javier then ends up killing Badger in the process by bashing his skull. Really, oh my goodness. Like, that's just really, really messed up in no matter way. So, of course, Max ends up disarming his former soldier. So Javier decides to either, spare Max or ends up killing him. So, with that being said, after they go back to Richmond, they end up finding Richmond to find out that, what was it? Oh yeah, they ended up finding out that Jones, running things that are not that great, and it's really messed up. And to be honest, it's just really, not really that good. So basically Javier ends up getting put into prison because of, everything that's going on and everything's about to, fall, downhill. So basically when David was screaming Javier or fight for trying to leave Richmond without him or thank Javier for supporting all this, Joan comes in and talks to David and some problems and issues. So she takes David away, but of course Javier is, trying to find a way out. So either Kate or Gabe ends up finding Javier in the place, and they break Javier free from being in prison. No matter what they tell you, Eleanor finds a place for them to stay about the plan. So when Javier goes to this little hideout with Gabe and or Kate, they end up finding out that Joan was the one who's running things not really good, even though she's saying, "Oh, I'm trying to protect the community." Well, no, Joan isn't. So Ava suggests that they headed for the medical center, and due to his friendship with David, Dr. Lingard will help them whenever they arrive. So basically, when Javier gets a shoulder injury, Clementine offers to stitch up Javier's shoulder, showing her own scar from when the dog or Sam bit her, Clementine, back in season 2. So it turns out that Clementine has started puberty, which she started her first period. Yeah, quite awkward with, Javier seeing that, or knowing it, but, you gotta know, a lot of kids, start puberty when they're around 13, so. Basically, when Javier, Ava, and Gabe return with Clementine to help with their original plan, however, they end up going to use a truck to stop Joan and escape. So, of course, here's what happens that Kate and Gabe go after the truck with Javier and Clementine, and Tripp says that he and Eleanor will gather supplies when Ava ran in and meet them in town square. However, when they get to near town square, Javier and Clementine ends up going to, end up finding out the town square where Joan begins her speech sentencing David to death for his actions. So after David accuses her of lying, Joan reveals Badger and Dr. Lingard, and even Lonnie or Four, whatever the corpses that Javier and David killed as evidence. Joan notices Javier and invites him to speak publicly to the crowd. So it's either that, Javier could shoot Joan, killing her, and of course, there's like deaths of certain characters. Either Trip ends up getting killed and Ava is spared, or Ava gets killed and Trip gets spared. So that's basically from Thicker Than Water. Now we're going up to From the Gallows, where Richmond becomes overrun with zombies, and basically Javi and Kate want to take back Richmond, but David, argues that it would be practically impossible knowing that there are a lot of walkers. Now, along with the decisions making, they decided to go to this one garage or something, which basically has more walkers, but of course, this is when things start to go really weird. Now, when David runs off on his own, sometimes Gabriel will go with them, with David, which is possible. So there are some endings that I can see. One ending being, can Javier and Clem go after Gabe and David together, although, to be honest, Kate will eventually die. Now, to be honest, right here, if Javi and Clem go to save Kate and help Richmond together, that's when things start to get a little bit messed up, seeing that, David dies any other way, or he gets exiled, and etc. So, when Javi gets a relationship with Kate or rejects her, if he shared feelings or Javi agrees or disagrees with distancing himself from Kate, it's just a very possibility. Now, with that being said, Javier has so many choices. There are like 3 or 4 different endings to this, which is very, very messed up, to be completely honest. But, it's very, kind of difficult to explain each ending. It's like, you might get an ending where Kate's alive and everyone else is dead, or Gabe's alive, or Dave is alive, or everyone lives. Because, if you played this first season, you probably know there are so many different choices. Just like I said with the other 2, the Walking Dead seasons, I said the game is played by the choices you make. So, yeah, that is very, something. I'm gonna sit there and just explain this as the best I can. So, to be very completely and utterly honest, and now I'm just gonna say this. If Lingard is alive, he will tell Javi and Clem the location of AJ, and then Javi chats with Clem before giving her a haircut, resembles her of Mariana's hair. Now, if Gabe's alive, he will say that she will miss him, and then he goes over to tell that he's going to go find AJ, or take him back to Richmond. So after saying goodbye to Javier and survivors of the Garcia family, she relieves Richmond, and that's basically what ends season 3, or the New Frontier. Now, to be completely honest, I'm going to sit there and just say this right now, that this one was actually pretty good. I really have to say, when I first, played this game when I was, really young. Well, not really young, but when I played this game for the first time, I honestly was very surprised of, how different, all this was. Now, I definitely have to say that there is a different good concept of what it is, and to be honest, there's, relationship stats, David's, you could definitely say your relationship stats with David could be heartfelt, brotherly, dysfunctional, controversial. And for Kate, you can have your relationship loving, romantic, careful, gradual, friendly, mixed signals, or distant. But there's also ways you can have Gabe being devoted, caring, fatherly, protective, concentrate, safety first, cautious, or detached. Which is, it depends on the choices you make with each character. They might, show you how you react or anything like that. Which I definitely have to say, it depends on which one you have decision. Just like I said, had that before, if you stayed with Kenny, Clementine will have a scar on her forehead. She will have a scar or wound on her right cheek if you stayed at Wellington from season 2. And Clem will have AJ inked on her right hand if you stayed with Jane, or have a missing finger if Clem went alone. Different options are being shown right here. Now, you could definitely see that there are different options in, how, what happens from taking on from season 2. So, I guess I'm going to sit there and just kind of, explain, to be completely honest, that, to be honest, despite the fact that, the movie was, the game itself was actually pretty good for what it is, I really do think that it's actually pretty nice when I saw this. Like, when I first saw this for the first time, I actually really liked how it all went out. It had a pretty good concept for what it is. It's actually pretty well made. I really do think that, season 5, or New Frontier in this case, was actually pretty good. Now, I don't get it why a lot of people really don't like this season. I've seen people bash it, and, that's something I don't understand. Is, like, why are people bashing it? Like, maybe if you guys have, your opinions on it, like, I understand if some people don't like it. Like, if they like, season 3, that's fine. If they don't like it, that's totally fine, too, because, it's everybody's own personal opinion. Like, we have personal opinions as well. So, I actually do have a few theories as what could be happening, although I can't think of them right now. Maybe, to be honest, I'm definitely gonna say, like, if you're really, wanting to know more about this, you feel free to look up on the wiki. Because on the wiki itself, you could definitely see on the wiki that, the wiki I'm talking about is the Walking Dead wiki, which will basically explain, certain things that are going on. To be completely and utterly honest, I really do find this season to be good. Although there were maybe a couple flaws with it, I guess can't point them out right now, because yet again, haven't played the games in a while. But I could definitely say that for each of them, there were a few flaws here and there. There were, like, a few flaws. Like, there was, like, a few flaws with the second season. Well, not really a lot, but a few. And the first season, I could definitely see. If there were some flaws in it, it could be why people really dislike season 3 or the New Frontier, which I definitely have to say is understandable. And I am very sorry that if it's not accurate or anything as I was hoping it would be. But if you guys want to let me know, your opinions on it or something, feel free to let me know in the comments below, because I would really like to see that. So anyways, with that being the case and that being said, what did you guys think about this episode of Shadows and Pretties? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this game a lot better? Leaving out what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. As I'm the Queen of Lions, thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Do not forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I will catch you all next time.